Welcome to the Longest Turn Board Gaming Podcast. This is episode 12, top 5 games in the BGG Top 100 that we want to play. My name is Tyler.
Hello, this is Kevin.
This is Tyson.
In this episode, we're going to talk about those top 5 lists after we jump into what we've been playing lately. Then we're going to talk about some of the things that we are excited about. How's it going?
It's going good. Excited to be recording again.
Yeah,
it's always fun.
It's always a good time.
Yeah, and I'm back again.
Yeah, Tyson didn't leave this time.
I did leave.
Oh,
you did? Yeah, you're back again for the
Minnesota for 2 weeks.
Oh, yeah, you did leave.
Tyler didn't even realize it.
Apparently, if I'm not gone for a month or more, it doesn't
What
matter.
I meant was we didn't record while you were gone.
This is true.
We missed you again.
Yes.
So, yeah.
I mentioned this in the last episode that I was going to be gone for 2 weeks.
No, I remember. It's been a long day. We only had one game night while you were gone, and we played a game.
I had more game nights while I was gone than that, so I'm excited to talk about some of the games I've been playing.
So was there anything you guys wanted to mention about our last episode?
There was. We got a rule wrong, for sure, and we were reminded of that by the designer, actually, which was cool.
Yeah, so for the Golden Age, which I talked about last time, or the Golden Ages, yeah, I'm just talking about the rules that we got wrong, and now I'm calling the whole game wrong entirely. The Golden Ages, designed by Luigi Farini. We talked about that last time, and we kind of went off on why we thought one card might be maybe not balanced, but Luigi was kind enough to come and tell us exactly how to play that card, and that we had read the rule wrong, or I had read the rule wrong. So it was really great because that card is definitely balanced now. So essentially what happened is we talked about how at the end of the game, Ben had gotten a card that seemed overpowered to us because he could do a lot of actions over and over. But apparently in the last round of the game, when somebody declares a Golden Age, it essentially makes it so that everybody else has one turn left.
Which would have completely changed our game.
Right.
So I remember when we were talking after this particular game night. I wasn't there, but I asked Kevin how Golden Ages was, and he told me, and it was a good game, great game. We had a good time. The ending was a little weird, right? And how Ben got this OP card. And my first thought was, well, was there a rule played wrong there? I think that was the first thing I said.
Well, we looked in the rule book, and maybe that's the rule book wasn't as clear as it could have been. I don't know, but it seemed like we looked for that.
Because we had the same impression as well, because all three of us after the game said, that seems a little
It just doesn't seem right. Yeah.
But it's probably us misreading the rules, and so we went back. We just didn't read in the right part, I don't think, of where that rule was, because we were reading for how that leader was played mostly, rather than the fact that the end of the last round has a different play than normally. If somebody passes and declares a Golden Age, I think, and
unless we're getting this wrong too.
We could be getting this wrong, right? But my understanding was you get 2 gold for every time it comes back around to you, and anybody could continue taking turns as they wanted.
Yeah, it seems weird to flip over your token and have that little reminder that you get 2 gold if that wasn't part of the rules.
So I think we're playing that
right.
But in the last round specifically, it just had a different in how that occurs. You can't play continuously when that last Golden Age is declared.
So thanks, Luigi, for chiming in and letting us know that we need to read better.
It's pretty awesome. We post these episodes on BGG, right? And we tag the games. And I gotta say, there's been a number of designers who have either commented or liked our posts. And it's so cool that the community is
so close knit that you can get that type of interaction.
Right. If I posted something about hockey or football, it's not like, Crosby or Ovechkin's going to respond to what I say, right?
Or you're on movies, right? You're on IMDb and you post something about how I don't understand how Inception's ending works. And it's not like Christopher Nolan comes and says, well, this is exactly what happens, right?
It's pretty cool that we get that in the board gaming world.
Yeah. That is cool.
Speaking of rules, that were maybe mistaught or misplayed. I was playing Dead Reckoning last night with Logan, and I can't remember if we played this way. I'm pretty sure we played it wrong. When you gain control of an island, right, and then someone comes in and steals it, your permanent cubes count towards the control of the island.
Oh, I don't think we did play that.
No, I have no recollection of this at all.
So my son, Logan, he totally rules lawyered me last night. We started playing, we'll get into this maybe, but we started playing the saga campaign or the saga expansion. And he's like, what are you doing? I still have control of that island. And I was like, what are you talking about? I have more cubes there. No, and then, of course, well, in section C of page 5, whatever.
Romanet, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, double I, like, it states. Okay, I totally got rules lawyered last night. And I was like, man, I'm pretty sure that, like, all previous games that I've played, we did not play that way.
But I imagine that's not happening all that often. Like, because most of the times when you go there, you have to get a lot of cubes in there anyway. So there are in a 2-player game, I could see that happening a lot more frequently than in a larger player count. But I still think it could have happened.
When we've been playing Clans of Caledonia for a year, and then Dan's like, you can't buy and sell the same commodity that in the same round.
There's no high-speed trading, and that's very clear in the rules, right?
Right.
But I played that game 20, 30 times.
Right.
Well, more on BGA. BGA gets it right because it does the rules for you, right? But yeah. It's funny when you've been playing a game that long, you're like, wait a minute.
Well, yeah.
I've had that experience by going to a different game group and playing the same game with a different game group, and people are like, wait, you're doing what?
Yeah.
I'm like, no, this is how you play it. And they're like, no, that's not how you play it. And you get rules lawyered.
And then you think back to who taught the game. And you're like,
whoa! And then you're like, oh, it's me. I learned it.
Kevin, would you like to tell us about what you've been playing lately?
Yeah, I would. So a few episodes ago, I talked about Dominion Allies and how I was excited to get that one played. We played it like usual over FaceTime with Matt, my brother-in-law. We just did a random setup. We wanted to play with, just all new cards. This game does a few new things like any Dominion expansion. It adds a few twists to the game and a few new rules. The first one is it introduces allies. Surprise, surprise. And the way these allies work is they have these tokens that you can gain using various card effects and different things in the game. You get these tokens, put them on a mat, and if you get a certain amount of tokens, the ally card will tell you what those tokens do. The first one we played with said if you had 4 of these tokens, I think they're favor tokens, I can't remember for sure, but if you had 4 of them on your mat, you can use, it counts as 1 money on your turn. If you keep getting more and more of these tokens, then if you have 8, then it's worth 2 money. I was able to really manipulate the heck out of this ally. I got enough tokens on there where it was 7 money every turn. Every time my turn came around, I had 7 money to spend. So if you have 8 money to spend, you get a province card, right? That's the best card in the game. There's colonies in Prosperity, but in most games, that province is the best card. So I needed 1 copper to buy a province every turn.
Wow.
And if I had multiple buys, I could potentially get 2 provinces. I don't remember if I did that or not. It was kind of cool. It seemed a little overpowered for me because, my wife and Matt were not playing that strategy.
Sounds like you broke the game.
I may have broken it a little bit, but it was fun breaking it. So I had a good time playing that one. It was a lot of fun. The other ally we played with was you could turn in these tokens to discard your hand and draw 5 more cards, which we first saw that one and we're like, it doesn't seem that cool. But as we started playing, it was awesome because a lot of times in Dominion, you get a dead hand, right? So you get a handful of victory point cards you can't do anything with. And you're like, well, I pass, and then it goes around till it gets to your turn again. This one allowed you to cycle through your deck quicker, get rid of those dead hands, and you always had something cool that you could do on your turn. So that was kind of fun in a different twist. There's also stacks of cards that normally you have a kingdom card or that's just in a stack. There's 10 of them, and they're all the same card. These stacks had 4 different cards in them, and you would cycle through the cards to get to other cards. And And it just added a different dynamic to the game, right? And a different strategy to the game. I like the allies a little bit better than those other cards, the card stacks, but it was fun. We had a good time playing with them.
So what's the most number of expansions that you've ever mixed in a Dominion game at once?
So there's apps, right, that you can they're randomizer apps, and you can just, click the button and it'll pull from every single expansion. I'd probably say maybe 5 or 6 expansions.
Wow.
At one time. That gets the setup on that gets kind of hairy, because I have Dominion in, I think, 4 boxes at this point.
Oh, wow.
and they're heavy boxes,
Yeah,
right?
They're jam-packed.
They're jam-packed, right? So we usually stick to maybe 2 or 3 expansions if we want to do it.
I do want to know how Allies ranks in comparison to some of the other expansions. Like, there's a lot of expansions out there. So, like, is this in the top 5, the middle, where does this fall?
So I need to play it some more, but initial impressions probably put it in the top, probably 5 to 6 range. So it's probably top half for sure. Yeah. There's some that I like better than others. Prosperity is one of my favorites. It just has some amazing cards. It introduces colonies, which is a 10-point victory card that's harder to get. It introduces platinum, which is better than gold. It's platinum costs 9 to buy. A province costs 8 to buy. So that decision of, whoa, okay, am I going to buy victory points, or am I going to get this awesome platinum card that's going to let me buy colonies later? That just adds a different dynamic, which I enjoy. So Prosperity, Seaside is awesome. I love that. That's the first expansion that introduced action duration cards, where you play them on your current turn and then you play them on your next turn, which was just cool. Kind of blew my mind when that came out. I'm like, whoa, that's awesome. Intrigue is great. That was the first expansion. It introduced more attack cards, which is always fun, more interactive, which is cool. So anyway, I'd probably say it's in the top 50%.
So it's worth checking out of all the expansions. It's
absolutely.
Worth taking a look at.
And I think it's newbie friendly. Some of the expansions you don't want to throw new people into, but I think this one doesn't. It's easy enough that you can throw new people in there and they won't get too tripped up, I think.
So I have the base game, and then I have, looking at my shelf, Alchemy and Cornucopia. And they're not in shrink wrap, but I'm pretty sure I've never played them.
So Alchemy is, let's see, there's been 12 expansions. It is number 12. It is not my favorite. Oh. Yeah.
I think
that's too bad you have that one.
I think that's one of the ones I've played too, and I wasn't all that impressed.
Well, and here's the reason why Alchemy is not good in my opinion. It adds another money card. It's a potion, right? And you have to buy a potion, and then you have to use that potion to purchase certain cards, and it's just not that fun. And the biggest problem is you can't mix and match Alchemy with other expansions that easily, because if you have the potion cards,
then you have to have the cards.
Then you have to have the cards that use the potions, and I think they realized that wasn't the greatest mechanic, so it's only in Alchemy.
Okay.
There's no other expansions that have that, right? So I think that one's universally probably disliked the most.
Interesting.
I mean, I'm sure there's people out there it's their favorite, but it's not ours. So that's Dominion Allies.
Well, you just talked about Dominion, a game that has sat on your shelf for a fair amount of time, right? Well, the game I want to talk about is a game that sat on my shelf for a fair amount of time. In fact, it's one of my shelf of shame games.
Man, you're knocking them out.
Episode 5. I'm 2 out of 5. Where do you guys stand on your shelf of shame games?
I'm 0 for 5, but I have plans.
I'm 1 for 5, I think.
Yeah.
I got a Yamate play.
Yeah, you did play Yamate.
Yeah. Yamate.
One of
Does
those?
it count if I played one of Kevin's?
No, it doesn't, because Kevin also played one of mine.
I'll allow it. Yeah, it counts.
If that counts, I get a double up on my golden ages.
We should do 0 or 1 out of 15 instead of 1 out of 5.
True.
Or however many.
Right.
So the game I'm talking about is Lisboa. This was my number 1 game on my shelf of shame list to play, and I finally got it off of my shelf. I was fortunate that I didn't even have to teach this one. I got to play a game day with Ben and Greg and Ben's uncle, Matt, and we played Lisboa. He came in town to visit, and decided to teach us all Lisboa, which was great because for those who don't know, this is a Vital Lacerda game published by Eagle Gryphon. And Vital Lacerda's games are heavy, hefty things.
They're meaty for sure.
Yeah. Well, we started actually playing this game. I got there about 7:30, and when I got there, they had been doing it all day game day, and we're just coming off of a game of Scythe, so we didn't start exactly at 7:30. We probably got started closer to 8:30, and then had to do the rules teach. So I was getting a little worried because for those who have played one of these games know these can be very long, meaty, lengthy games, right? So essentially what Lisboa is, it is a game that takes place in post 1755 Lisbon, at the time where the great earthquake occurred, and after the earthquake there was a tsunami, and then after a tsunami there was 3 days worth of fires. So all of the city was basically destroyed, and this game is the reconstruction efforts over a period of time of this of Lisboa, right? So the game, as far as there's so much in this game, it's hard to really tell you everything that's going on. But basically, what it is you're playing a game where there's some worker placement style elements. There's action selection with cards. There's area control types of effort. There's resource management. There is resource delivery and contracts to fulfill. There's a lot of things going on, but each round players are only going to do one thing on their turn, and they may play one card on their own player area or one card on the display. If they place this card on the display for everybody, there is an option for people, if they have a certain token, to take a follow action. So I love a game with follow actions that allow you to do stuff on off turns when it's not your turn. And this game has some of that, and it's fun to kind of manage that. But essentially what you're doing is you're trying to collect these cards so that you can do different actions, and on each card there are like bonus actions and bonus things you can do depending on where you play them. If you play them in the display in front of you, they have a tuck mechanic that if you tuck it, you're going to get a bonus thing, and then you can do an action or two. And there are 3 main locations on the board controlled by major figures: the Marquis de Pombal, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, and the King. And historically speaking, these 3 were in charge of the rebuilding of Lisbon. And so the whole game is you're using and going to each of these locations so that you can rebuild the city in some manner. There is so much going on. It's hard to really explain. And this was just one play of it. But after this one play, I'm sad that it's taken me so long to get this game played, because this is a lot of fun. And for a Lacerda game, I was really impressed by how quickly this game played, because like I said, we started around 8:30. We were done by 11. That included the rules teach and everything. So like this game was a lot quicker to play than...
I'm pretty sure after 2.5 hours, we were still in our second round of On Mars.
I agree.
Maybe our first round. I don't know.
That's right. Or we could have still been learning the rules.
In our first game.
We were watching the video tutorial.
Yeah.
Yeah, still.
So as far as the Lacerda game goes, there's a lot. It feels like his games, but it also feels completely different. Like there's not necessarily a lot of overlap in the mechanisms, but you get that vibe of his game, and I think you can do this one in a lot shorter time frame than some of the other ones that I've played so far. And I really think that means that this one has the potential to get to the table more often, which I'm hopeful for, because I enjoyed this one a lot, and I think it's one that I would love to play with you guys.
So after an initial play, because you played On Mars one time, and you've played this one time, right? So after an initial play, which one do you think you enjoy more?
I enjoy both of them for different reasons and like the mechanisms in them. But ultimately, I'd have to go Lisboa simply because the fact I can get it played quicker and I'm more likely to play it. And it wasn't as laborious of a rules learning overall as like on Mars. Because now if I'm going to go back to Lisboa or on Mars, I'm going to have to refresh on the rules of either.
Right.
And it's going to take me a longer time, I think, to remember how to play on Mars than it is Lisboa. Granted, Lisboa is a little bit more fresh, obviously, so take that into consideration.
Cool.
How thematic was it?
It true to Lacerda style, like everything you're doing makes sense. You're literally building markets and taking away rubble from the board, and then using that rubble to kind of get other things going on, and then you're shipping goods that you're getting from one place to another using ships. You're going and they're using some of like these like church features, and you're like, there's so much theme in this game. He does a great job at like implementing theme and in all of his games, but this one I had no idea what the theme was really before I had learned about the game, but I could feel it as I was playing it.
That's cool. I love the art in it. I think of
it's pretty.
Yeah, I think I've heard criticisms where people think it's kind of bland, or I don't know.
They think it's too blue or something,
or too blue. But I just think it's awesome.
It's unique, and I love it.
I think it looks great. I've always been drawn to the game because of the art. So I'm super interested in playing. So now that you know how to play,
right?
Ben knows how to play.
Both of us know how to play.
You own it, right?
I own it. So like if we all sat down and played it, like especially if people took a time ahead to like watch a rules video or whatever, you could get a quick overview of these rules, quicker for a Lacerda game, like in 30 minutes maybe, and then I think you'd be good to go. And it comes with a good like reference, like so instead of like a player aid like that is a card, it's actually like a 4-page player aid.
A 4-page player aid,
which sounds like a lot, but it
awesome.
actually does a really good job, I felt, at like referencing everything you need. And in fact, I started using that and realizing, oh, this makes sense by going through this. And I kept reading it throughout the game, which made it so I didn't have to ask rules questions in between, made it so I had time to think on my own turn.
Which is always a little frustrating because then you're kind of showing your hand. Right. Of what you're doing.
Right. Let's say I was going to do this. Not that I'm going to do it.
Yeah, right. I would never do something.
But
like
hypothetically,
what does that area over there do?
Yeah.
Now, how does that work again?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does this mean I win the game if I do this?
Do I get more points for doing this as opposed to this? Yeah.
No, but the player aid is excellent in helping avoid that kind of a scenario where you can actually figure out most of the answers to your questions by looking at it, because it has a good player flow structure in there.
Cool. It sounds awesome.
So that was Lisboa.
Tyson.
Tyler.
You seem a decent fellow. I hate to kill you.
I'm not.
Dang it.
I know the movie. I know the quote. I don't know how to follow it up.
You seem a decent fellow. I hate to die. So I'm going to be talking about a game that I played recently with my son, the Princess Bride Adventure Book game. And this game is Princess Bride to a T. So this Princess Bride game is published by Ravensburger, and it came out in 2020. It's been on our shelf of shame, our family's shelf of shame, since the end of 2020. It is designed by Ryan Miller, and the art is by Medusa Dollmaker and Lucas Torquato. And I apologize if I mispronounce either of those names. So this is a very interesting game. It's pretty cool. So there are 6 levels basically that you play through, and each one takes 15 minutes or less. So you beat the game if you play through all 6 pages of this book. So, and they're each a scene from the movie. So the first one is the farm. Second one is you're on the boat with Vincini and Indigo.
My name is Inigo Montoya.
And Fezzik and Princess Buttercup, right? And you're trying to stay ahead of the mysterious ship that is following you. You have to pull Buttercup, save her from the eels after she jumps in the water, right? So each page tells the next part of the story of the movie. So then there's the man in black fighting through Indigo.
My name is Inigo Montoya.
Fezzik and Vizini staying ahead of Humperdinck.
Humperdinck.
I'm not a witch, I'm your wife.
Yeah.
And after what you said, I'm not sure I want to be that anymore.
Then you're escaping the fire swamp. You're finding Indigo and
My name is Inigo Montoya.
taking the man in black to Miracle Max before you head to the gate. And then the sixth mission is storming the castle. So each one of these takes 15 minutes or less to play. They're more of a thematic activity. You have challenges on each page that you have to complete so that you can move on. However, each page has its own interruptions.
Inconceivable.
Yes.
Speaking of interruptions.
So anyway, you have these interruptions that if something happens, like if the boat catches you or if Humperdinck catches up to you before you get past Fezzik or whatever, then there's an interruption a la Fred Savage interrupting his grandpa, right? So if you get an interruption, then you have to start that over. If you get 2 interruptions over the course of the 6 pages or the 6 missions, then you lose the game, okay? This game, we had a lot of fun with this. We're throwing quotes back and forth. It was fun.
But it's an activity.
It's more of an activity.
Yeah.
This is a game that I would play with my child who I just barely showed the movie to the first time when they're 8 or 9 or however old, we show this movie. So Logan's obviously seen the movie. We played through it. It's a cooperative game. Each level, you're doing something different. They get a little bit harder and harder. In the last one, we did get one interruption at the very end. Prince Humperdinck called our bluff about Wesley.
You're bluffing.
I knew it. You're bluffing. That's pretty funny, though.
Yeah, right?
Cool.
So he called our bluff. But really what happened was we had 4 turns in a row where we were just drawing cards like in Pandemic, trying to get the right ones we needed. And we got 2 out of the 3 that we needed before he got up enough confidence to call our bluff, right? And then we replayed it again, which was really kind of anticlimactic. And then we played that level again, and we easily beat it. So lots of fun, really fun activity, different thematic puzzles that you play through. I would never get this out at game night. We could play this as a family. We might still play with my wife at some point. When my other son is old enough to watch Princess Bride, we're going to watch the movie and then we're going to play through this game, and it's going to be awesome. And it's perfect for that, right? It might also be fun, like if you're on a double date and watch Princess Bride and then, hey, let's play through this. If you're quoting back and forth, there's flavor text on each of the cards that you're drawing to see. There are these cards that you draw like in Pandemic that can eventually cause an interruption. So
when Caden's old enough to watch Princess Bride, my kids will be as well. And I have a son whose name is Wesley. I would love to watch this movie, play the game with you, and then tuck my kid at night and say, "Good night, Wesley. Good work. Sleep well. Almost like to kill you in the morning."
Yeah.
Wait a minute, to your son?
That's why he's got to watch the movie first.
Right?
Yeah, he has to have that context first, okay?
Yeah, I'm not going to do that.
Right.
I'm not going to go to bed, tuck him in tonight and do this. So
Yeah,
but for like $25-$30, we don't usually talk about price ranges and cost of games when we rate them or discuss them. I think it's worth it to go through this experience at least once as a family. Like it was fun.
Yeah, we're big fans of Princess Bride.
Oh,
so
awesome.
as you're talking about it, I'm like, that sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a classic.
I have a 15-year-old and she loves it, so I think she'd be all over this game. So
yeah,
I might have to check it out.
Which we're coming up. It's 35 years since Princess Bride came out.
They were talking about making another Princess Bride.
Which means that Disney Plus has the chance of making a miniseries about Dread Pirates Roberts, right?
I don't know if I'm on board for this. It's such a perfect
Did they announce
movie.
that?
No, I'm just saying they're doing Willow, like a miniseries on Willow. I'm excited about that.
Willow!
It's
Have you ever read the Willow
you miserable
books?
vomitous mass?
I like it. So that was Princess Bride adventure book game by Ravensburger.
All right, the next game I want to talk about is from one of my favorite designers. This is Vladimir Suchy. And we talked about one of his games before. We did a feature review of Praga. I like this one considerably more than Praga. And we were talking about this after we played. I played with Tyler and Dan. And I think this could be my favorite Suchy game. I think it's number one. Underwater Cities is very close behind. But I think because of the play time and how it's a little bit quicker to play, I think this one takes the number one spot for me. So in Pulsar, this is a dice drafting game. It's an exploration game. You have this large circular board in front of you, which I think is pretty cool. There's not a whole lot of games that I play anyway that have a big circle board. You have different galaxies that you're going to be exploring. You're going to be traveling your ship across this map and discovering those galaxies, dropping little discs, discovering places to get points at the end of the game. There's this massive tech tree that you'll have more availability to as the game goes on. And that's also the time tracker in the game. Once you get to the very end of the tech tree, that signals the last round of the game. You're drafting dice. You're using those dice to take actions. There's transmitters that you can build. There's these things called gyrodynes, and you put the gyrodynes out, and then you put the pulsars in the gyrodynes. I mean, there's just all kinds of things that you can do, and everything works really well together. It's just a lot of fun to play. By far, my favorite part of the game is the dice drafting. So the way that works is whoever is first in turn order will take the dice, roll them, and then put them on a board from lowest value to highest value. And then you find the median die. In a 3-player game, it was the fourth die. You have this little thing you do. You put your hand over it. If there's more dice to the left, you move this little marker to the left. If there's more dice to the right, you move the little marker to the right. If it's right in the middle, then it stays right in the middle. And then it goes to the first player. They have a choice. What die am I going to draft? If you take a lower value die, then you count spaces from where this marker is, and you get to move your token either on the turn order track or the engineering track. And you move it closer. So you're potentially first in turn order or higher in turn order. Or on the engineering track, you move further to the left, which means you have the potential to get engineering cubes, and the engineering cubes will allow you to take extra dice or get points at the end of the game type of thing. So that decision on, am I going to take a lower value die, even though it's not quite as powerful for the actions I want to take, or am I going to take a higher value die, which is going to potentially put me further back in turn order or further back on the engineering track, but I can do cooler things with that die. That whole dynamic is super interesting. The first player selects a die. It goes to the last player selects, and then it goes back to the first player. So it's a snake draft type of thing. Super interesting mechanic. And first time I played that, it just blew my mind.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. I think that's probably the best mechanism in any Suchy game that I've played. And
I agree.
I mean, just the dice drafting aspect, just incredible. It is such a cool. Yeah, I want to see that. I want to see it tweaked a little. I want to see it in other games too.
Yes, other designers doing it a little different type of thing.
Yeah, I think it's brilliant.
I completely agree. It makes for some interesting decisions for the whole game, right? It's just awesome.
The first time we played that, I remember as we were playing it, multiple times when that would happen, we would stop and be like, this is such a cool mechanic. Just the way it works. It was fantastic. And I agree. I'd like to see more of that in other games. but it's implemented so well here in this game that I wonder if I would be disappointed seeing it in other games as well.
Yeah, no, I think it has potential to be modified slightly to become even better, right? I love what it is in Pulsar.
In this last play that we had, I gave up on the engineering track pretty quick because you and Dan were just battling it out for first place, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, I gotta find another way to get engineering cubes. So I went the transmitter route, and if you get the transmitters, there's certain transmitters that will give you engineering cubes at the end of each round. And I was able to build that engine where I was getting engineering cubes there. I didn't have to worry about that track. You guys could fight as much as you want, right?
Right.
And I was able to get them in a different way. So,
Which, I mean, I didn't buy any transmitters.
right. I went very heavy transmitters.
Dan bought one or two. You're virtually unchecked. You dominated. I mean, you lapped us, or were very close to lapping us right before the final scoring.
Yeah.
And it was clear that Dan and I were playing for second place.
That's one thing I wonder about this game as well, is that every game I've played, the person who takes the transmitter strategy has won. I think we talked about this in episode, I don't remember, the Cabin Con episode. Episode 3.
Our least listened to episode, if you would like to go give us
We did talk about
it's a good one. Go back and listen.
But we talked about Pulsar then, and I think Dan won when we played that one, and he had transmitters in that game, and I believe the time before that, Kevin won the first game that we all played together.
It was
We
a
did not.
tiebreaker.
That game was incredible.
But it was transmitter that you had taken on that strategy.
I can't remember what my strategy was, but that game came to a
I bought a
tiebreaker,
few.
and Tyler ended up winning that one. The interesting thing about the Cabin Con play, though, was Dan. I thought I had that wrapped up, right? Dan went transmitter heavy, but he only won by about 5 points, right? I think there are other valid strategies, but there could be, if there's no competition for those transmitters and one person goes heavy on those, then I think other people on the table need to recognize that and maybe go get at least a few of those transmitters, right?
So I don't think that the transmitters were what won the game for Dan necessarily. They gave him the flexibility to win the game, though, because he had what really got him was the ability to complete those end game objectives, multiple of those.
Yeah, he got all three of them.
And he got all of them, yeah.
Well, Tyler got all three of them last game.
Yeah,
but he had the flexibility to do so because he had red dice to spare because of the transmitters.
So that's what I was playing for. My score was very far behind. It was even trailing Dan quite a bit until
even right Dan.
Yeah. Well, I didn't mean that as a slight.
No, just kidding.
But like I was quite a ways behind Dan, and I was going for the end game scoring, and I scored as many possible points as I could from the end game scoring tiles that are available to everybody. I think I put up 100 points in the end game scoring, which I thought I didn't think I was going to catch up to you, but it was super exciting and fun trying to figure out how I was going to max out every single one of those. I missed out on like 16 points because your last roll as the first player was terrible. You rolled like 2s and 1s.
Yeah, it was bad.
There was like 1 6 and 1 5 out there.
It was perfect for me because I was able to pick up 2 more transmitters and activate them on the same turn.
Right.
So it's good for me,
but like I was like, oh man, I could have had I think it was 16 more points or something like that. But in the end, it didn't even come close to mattering because you broke 200 and I was at 145 and Dan was a little bit behind that. So, I mean, you played it awesome. It does give me a little bit of concern, like we've talked about the transmitters, right? We've talked about if you want a really good score in Praga, you go the King's Road route. You're not necessarily going to win, but it really is the avenue to scoring
most consistently high point scoring mechanism.
Right. And I wonder if the transmitters are kind of the same thing in Pulsar 2849. I have a very small sample size, so I don't know. Yeah. But I think especially if one player goes unchecked, like you did in this game, like nobody was buying any of them. You I mean, they were on the other side of the table from me, and I was just trying to relearn the game. I honestly didn't really ever look at them, right?
I noticed. Yeah.
Yeah. And Dan bought one or two. If a player goes unchecked on transmitters, I think they're definitely like almost unstoppable.
And this is one of the things I like the best about the game is the tech tree changes every time you play. And you can look at that tech tree and you can see what is going to be available. You can start formulating your strategy at the beginning of the game and say, I want to get this, and then I want to get that. And I'm going to put myself into a position where I can get those things, and then try to execute your strategy, right? So I picked up early on the technology that said I get 4 more victory points for every transmitter that I activate. Right. And I had 1 million transmitters. So just for that one technology that I got, it got me a ton of points. And there was other things, later, the end game bonus, you get 2 points for each online transmitter you have. I picked up that one as well. And I saw that early in the game and I'm like, I think I want to try for that. I want to try for that. I'm going to go for transmitters and just go for it. I didn't explore at all really in that game.
It's interesting because you mentioned, Kevin, early on that this may be your favorite Suhi game, right? And I think I'm probably right there with you on this one and I think it's because what you just mentioned, the ability to have that game state change every game. You have so many variable options for the end game scoring, so many different routes for that tech tree that it makes it so that every game you play, you have to figure out how does this puzzle work for this game particularly. And I really like that about this game. So even if there is like consistently transmitter might be a good way to score high points, it also depends on some of these like force multipliers that really do stuff to really make that truly viable or not. But it also always makes it more interesting in every game you play. You're always experiencing and relearning and figuring out what the optimal plays are.
And I want to, you have these HQ boards that are in front of you, and I've never really focused on the HQ board and tried to maximize points from that. And I would love to explore that more,
So I did explore it and I got some end game scoring for it, but I could have gotten more. And that was the one that I couldn't buy because of the last dice roll.
Oh, yeah.
And it was get 2 additional points per HQ slot that you used or something like that. I think because of the variability and like you said, planning out from the beginning, hey, look, those are the end game scoring tiles. This is the route I'm going to go. That lends itself to playing this game multiple times and being able to think that far ahead. It's one of those games.
It rewards multiple plays.
Yeah. So I agree though. I think this is my favorite Suhi game that I've played. I've only played this and Underwater Cities and Praga.
Yep.
For me, Underwater Cities plays a little too long, like Terraforming Mars does.
We got to get Last Will out.
That's what I really want to play. I haven't
played it. I've got it. And
you got that like 2 years ago in the parking lot at an AMC during the pandemic.
It's like we're doing some sort of deal.
And I was there picking up Tricarion from the same dude. And I still haven't played that.
I've played Last Will a few times.
And I've played Tricarion, fantastic. So it sounds like you're the outlier here.
So that is Pulsar 2849. If you haven't checked it out, I would highly recommend it.
Absolutely.
So the last game I want to talk about is I mentioned that I had gone to Minnesota, right, the last couple of weeks, and I got the opportunity to play a lot of games because my coworker's husband, Ken, who is a avid board gamer, has his own collection, and gets to play games all the time.
Does he have Monster Crunch?
I don't know that he has Monster Crunch.
I don't know if we can call it a collection.
Hey, even you have Monster Crunch.
That's true.
I don't have Monster Crunch, but I get to benefit the 2 of your Monster
No, that's
Crunch.
A gaping hole in your collection.
It
like we've talked about before, modern classic.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if we're defining our collection standards by Monster Crunch, that means that neither myself or Ken have are board gamers. So I apologize.
Well,
but
fair enough.
I don't define my collection by that. And Ken has a lot of really great games, and he taught me a bunch of games. We went to Game Center in Minnesota, which is used to be like Fantasy Flight's kind of own showroom play hall area. It's right across from Asmodee, North America, and a lot of other things. So it was a really cool place, this really good area. So we played a bunch of games there, and then we had a full game day at one of Ken's friends, Jeff's house, and we played a lot of games. So I'll have a number of games that I'm going to be talking about over the next couple episodes that came as a result of this trip. But the one that I want to talk about today is a game called After the Empire. It's published by Gray Fox Games. Its designer is Evan Halbert and Ryan Mauk. And this is a game that was kickstarted, and so it has the full Kickstarter deluxe treatment of that you can get neoprene, you can get 3D pieces that are like huge and ginormous, and you get a ton of little plastic pieces and cardboard and a lot of things. So this game is sprawling, and if you take a look at it, you'll see that it builds a physical castle. And I took some pictures, posted them on our Instagram account. So if you want to check it out, you can see those there. But essentially what this game is it is a worker placement, resource management style game that's set in the Middle Ages. And you are building a keep and trying to defend it. So it's almost to me, it felt like a competitive version of a tower defense style game. Because what's happening is you go through 6 rounds in this game, and during each of those rounds, you're going to, at the end of the round, have to face people who are trying to seize your castle, your keep. And at the start of the game, your keep is weaker, made out of wood, but you can upgrade and get parapets and towers to fire arrows down at people, and you can upgrade them from wood to stone and like improve your keep by adding buildings, taking in refugees, doing a lot of different things to really kind of increase your strength and your power in the region. So each of you as a player has one of these keeps, and all of you are going to have these sieges come in at certain points of the game. Now, at the start of the game, like I said, you're starting off weak, and so the sieges also start off weak. Each round, you're going to be drawing a number of cards, depending on what round it is. So in the first round, you only draw 1 siege-style card, and it'll tell you from what direction you're going to be sieged from. So you have 4 sides of your fort, your keep, and what types of units are coming. So archers or just foot soldiers. Do they have ladders? Do they have, like, can they scale your walls? Can they do all these different things? And it makes for this really interesting tactical feel of trying to defend your keep. It reminds me a little bit of Spirit Island, and you get to see ahead what the invaders are doing and where they're going to come from. And you get that round to prepare for it. So each round you're doing worker placement actions by putting your worker in certain areas to collect resources so that you can potentially build new structures, strengthen your walls, and add new buildings and things like that. And there's just a lot going on. But one of the greatest things about it, I think, is that the game has, you're trying to get gold. So the more gold you have, the more points you have, because they're the same thing. But if you have a lot of gold, that also means that you're more desirable to the invaders, and they're going to come after you harder. So it's cool because it has this mechanic that says that, okay, if you're at this level of gold, these are the units that are going to come attack you. But if you're at a higher level of gold, you're going to get more. And so you're trying to leverage this balance between I want to have a lot of points so that I can win this game, but I also don't want to have too many points, because the more points I have, the more likely I'm going to get destroyed in this upcoming siege. So there is just a lot of interesting parts in this game. And I only obviously got to play it the one time, but this is one that there was a lot to explore, a lot to discover, and it was a lot of fun. I really would love to get this one played again, because I think there's a lot going on, and I loved the combination of worker placement and this tower defense kind of mechanic, because I hadn't kind of seen that before, and it was really cool.
Sounds like you're going to buy it.
I have debated it. I am not sure
That
yet.
was my question.
I support that.
Yeah.
This sounds pretty awesome.
It all depends on will it get played, because I would love to play this game again, and because it's a Kickstarter style game and it comes with a lot of stuff. I would probably want to get the upgraded bits if I can get a hold of them, and so it would be an investment to do. So I would be interested in getting this one if you guys are interested.
I could get behind a cool castle theme, right? It's not birds.
It's not birds.
That's a good point. It's not birds.
Not birds.
I mean, birds have done well for certain games.
That is
very
true.
well, yes.
And that bird game is beautiful.
It is beautiful.
And you have it on your shelf, yeah. Somewhere.
Nope, I don't.
Oh, you don't? Did you get rid of that one?
I never bought that one. Ben has that one.
Oh, you never bought that one. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm looking at pictures of this on Board Game Geek, and it looks awesome. Like the bits, and I'm sure I'm looking at pictures of the upgraded bits from the Kickstarter, but it looks really cool.
I think all the game, I could be wrong, but I think all the games come with the plastic pieces to build your castle out. But I could be wrong.
I like games when they progressively get harder, when there's a playing against the game element, like Aeon's End, right?
Yeah.
Not like Lord of the Rings card game where you could flip a couple cards that kill you in the first round.
Yeah, that game's
second round,
brutal.
Right?
But there's the threat level concept in that. It's a little bit different. They won't attack you, but
That's true.
Necessarily.
But if there are some...
I've died the second turn.
Yeah,
yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas Aeon's End, and it sounds like after the Empire, it gradually gets more difficult as you get stronger. I like when games do that.
Well, and it's interesting that you make the comparison to Aeon's End, because Aeon's End is a cooperative, right, style game. This is not. It's competitive, but the competitive doesn't feel like the right way to describe this game necessarily, because it's effectively multiplayer solitaire. There is some interaction because it's a worker placement, so you're occupying spaces that other players can or cannot occupy. So there is some interaction, but there's not a lot that you can do to truly impact another player in what they're doing.
Which is interesting, because you generally gravitate more towards more interaction in games, right? And the fact that this doesn't have a whole lot of that and you still enjoyed it that much kind of shows that you really enjoyed your play, and it's a good game.
Well, that was the thing that pulled me back most of, is this one something I'd be willing to invest in for myself to own it? That was the concern, is that maybe there's not as much interaction as I would typically enjoy, but I still really enjoyed this game. And it's one I would like to explore more, but I wouldn't be able to get to explore it more unless I'm the one getting it. So.
No, like I said, I'm definitely interested in playing. I would give it a shot for sure.
So yeah, that was After the Empire.
Is it me?
Yeah. Tyler, why don't you talk about your next game?
Whatever, Kevin. So if you've listened to this podcast before, either in the last episode or a couple episodes before that, you might be sick of hearing me talk about Dead Reckoning. But I'm going to talk about Dead Reckoning again briefly. If you want to hear our very long discussion about Dead Reckoning, we did a feature review of it in episode 11.
It was pretty lengthy, but everything in there was very good. So go back and listen to that episode for sure.
Absolutely. This episode, I'm going to talk about Dead Reckoning Deep Legends, which is the first saga expansion that came with the Kickstarter that I bought. And it adds a few things, and I'm going to try and avoid some spoilers, but basically a saga expansion is kind of like a campaign expansion. There's leave behind cards that you can then keep in your game for just regular plays of Dead Reckoning, or you can take them out and leave them out, and you can put them back into the saga expansion and then play through it again later. This first saga expansion, Deep Legends, it adds a new island board, which has its own special rule, which is pretty cool. It produces lots of goods, but the buildings all cost double to build. It adds some new advancement cards. there is an envelope that we haven't played through the whole saga expansion, but there is an envelope in there that we haven't opened up yet. It comes with like a journal book, and it comes out with starter advancement cards that you put in the advancement decks that when they come out, it'll then either it'll either tell you to draw like other new advancement cards that you haven't seen yet, or go read in the journal. And so there's some storytelling that goes on and some really cool things that are introduced into the game. What I love about it, we talked in the last episode about how much we enjoyed the discovery. Tyson, you mentioned it, right? The discovery in this game and discovering new things. The saga expansion takes it to the next level of new things that you're trying to discover. And you know that there are things in the deck and there's hints of them, and you're trying to find them and figure out what's going to happen in relation to those. So I can't say a lot without spoiling it, but I love the idea. You know, I've been playing this just with my son. We've been having a blast playing it. We played it several nights in a row, and it's six, I think it's six games to play through the first saga. And then there's a second one that we'll play after that, which has even more envelopes and its own journal book and other new things. Oh, this one also adds some other ship upgrades that you can include in the base game. And it tells you basically you don't have to play through the saga expansion to add some of this stuff in. So that's not spoilers. But I love the discovery of it. I was a 5 for 5 on this game. I absolutely love this game. It has easily been the funnest game of the year for me so far. And, you know, just this next expansion has added so much more. I'm still excited to play the next one. I'm excited for the Kickstarter this summer and to see what else is coming out with it. I hope it's, you know, there's a little bit more and some of the things maybe get addressed that we had issues with the game. But yeah, that's Dead Reckoning, Deep Legends, the first saga expansion.
I love secret envelopes.
They're the best.
They are amazing.
Yeah.
Like playing through, we've talked about Pandemic Legacy, but playing through Pandemic Legacy and opening those boxes.
Yeah.
It was awesome. It's like, it's so exciting to get to that point. Like what new stuff is going to be added? Or as you were talking about that, it made me think of a Scythe. I mean, there's comparisons to Scythe in this game, but Rise of Fenris, right? Yep. And it seems like I unfortunately have not played through that entire campaign of Rise of Fenris.
I would love to play that with you.
I know you would. I
have yet to play it. It's sat on my shelf since it came out. That's
we
a shelf of shame for me.
Your copy,
but you know what's coming.
But I played through it 2 years ago. I don't think that's going to give me a big enough advantage or any advantage really. I don't really remember.
That's true. Your memory's going. You're getting a lot older.
I'm getting up there. I'm almost catching up to you. But that is one thing. Like, okay, Fenris, right? Like, you may not want to play that with me. I would have no problem at all playing through this whole saga expansion with Dead Reckoning and then turning around and playing it with someone else. There's no advantageous knowledge that I feel like would ruin it for someone by me already having played through it, I feel like.
So is it like Rise of Fenris where it's modular? You mentioned you can include cards or not include cards, you know, in future games type of thing.
Yeah.
So it's that way.
Yeah. I honestly plan on leaving in all the advancement cards that you leave in. And it's cool because you start out putting new advancements into the deck, and those ones you all, for the most part, you kind of trash them when they come up. They help you discover other new things, but those initial ones are just there to trigger those other discoveries and are trashed, and you wouldn't include those in regular games of Dead Reckoning. But yeah, the new content that I've seen, I would happily leave it in the base game as long as someone didn't want to eventually play through the expansion first.
I said it last time. I've still only played it one time, and I need to play more because I really enjoyed it, and I could see it becoming a 5 for me. I just need to play more of it to be sure of that.
Well, and we talked about how there's different ways to win this game, right? This last one, I have a Sea Dog card for my Pulsar. So he's the quartermaster. So he has added benefits, right? But I upgraded him to a level 4, and I was producing gold like crazy on islands, and I was just a cash cow going out, picking up gold, taking it back. I went after Logan, and I tried to sink him when he was pretty damaged, because how things carry over and how the end campaign scoring works out is pretty cool, but it kind of makes you want to complete different achievements and upgrade different crew members to level 4 each game, and just how the scoring works out, it kind of forces you to go after different things. So in this one, I was like, oh, I have a good chance to get him, and I lost the battle, and I didn't damage him enough, and then he started repairing his ship, and I was like, well, forget that. I'm not going to go after him. But my deck was stacked with battle cards and cannons, and dude, it was awesome. It was such a fun play, but I ended up just doing cash cow, producing on islands, bringing it all back to the harbor. I feel like there's a number of different ways to win this game.
Good old pick up and deliver. Yeah, that's cool.
I mean, it was a little more exciting than that. But
well, that's the mechanic.
But yeah, sure. Sure.
That sounds fun. That's cool.
I guess I think sometimes pick up and deliver is kind of got a negative connotation to it, right? Like,
it's like one of my least favorite
mechanisms.
I can think of 2 games that are specifically pick up and deliver that I really don't like. That's Firefly. I know people are going to hate me for that one, but Firefly, the board game, and then Wasteland Delivery Express. I did not like that because they were pick up and deliver. I didn't even think about it in Dead Reckoning as being pick up and deliver.
You're doing so many other things.
That's what it is.
It is.
That's one of the mechanics of many.
But you're doing so many other things that it doesn't feel like you're just doing a boring pick up and deliver, right?
Yeah. No, it's a pirate themed, right? So it makes perfect sense, right?
Yeah.
You're plundering these islands.
I mean,
and you're taking
could be worse. You could be burying your gold on islands and leaving it there, and then coming back.
I'd like to think that my headquarters, my port is my island. It is my treasure trove.
One point, we talked about this, how you were chasing me around last game.
Yeah.
At one point, Logan was hiding in harbor for consecutive turns.
Well, there's trend.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a viable strategy.
So cool. Like
that you tell and run.
Like father, like son.
Yeah. That you could have to consider that. I love that aspect of it.
It's a great game.
I thought you said you weren't going to say much about it.
Whatever, Kevin. I got all excited. I want to go play it right now.
Let's do it. Set it up.
It'll take me 5 minutes.
That's what I've heard. Quick setup.
You can time me.
All right, so that wraps up what we have been playing lately. Now let's move into our top 5 games in the BGG top 100 that we would like to play. I'm going to kick this one off and start this list by saying I have played, of the top 100 games on Board Game Geek, I've played 50 of them. So
at least as of 30 seconds ago.
At least as of 30 seconds ago when I double checked what this looked like. I've played 50 of those. Obviously, this ranking system is changing constantly, and we acknowledge and recognize that there are some weird things about this ranking system. But basically, we wanted to talk about today some games that are commonly thought of as very high quality games, right? We wanted to talk about those games that we haven't played on this list, even though we've played a fair amount of them.
So I came in at 47 out of 100.
I as well came in at 47 out of 100.
And I have 10 of them that I haven't played that are on my shelf of shame.
10?
Yeah.
I didn't even count.
You have a problem, man.
I've been trying to fix it.
Okay. Yeah.
I didn't even count how many I owned that I
haven't played.
Is
that like bigger than your shelf of shame total?
My shelf of shame is not that big.
I've seen your shelves. There's no way you've played all those.
I have been collecting games for like 15 years.
Radis? You've played that?
I've played Radis.
Big box version coming soon, I heard.
That is big box version. And I've considered getting it. I just don't know if Radis is still a good game. It's one that I have to go back and revisit. It's my favorite game about the Black Plague.
Well, it's not on the top 100.
Until you play Messina 1347.
I am interested in playing that. It is not on the top 100.
Right.
Let's get back to that.
So let's get back to the top 100. So of the games that we haven't played on the top 100, we've obviously played a fair amount on there. The ones that I'd like to try most, starting at number 5, is Wingspan. Wingspan is...
Birds.
I was just going to say that. Random animals, yeah.
Wingspan, though, is one that obviously I feel like as a gamer, with how popular Wingspan is, it's a game that I should have at least tried by now. It's won numerous awards. It's critically acclaimed. It's beautiful. It's a Stonemaier game, which I've played pretty much all of their games, and I'm a big fan of Stonemaier in general. I'm not quite to the point where I'd say I get every game that they come out with. I'm becoming more and more selective, but this one is one of the ones that people seem to say is one of the best. Now, I know that both Tyler and Kevin have played this one, and I believe that part of the reason why I haven't gone out of my way to play it is because I've heard what you guys think about this one, and it's similar to what I believed my own reaction would have been looking at it.
So Ben has this one, and I've played it a couple of times. Beautiful art. I think it's a great gateway game.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
It plays pretty quickly. I walked away from both of my plays of it a little underwhelmed.
Yeah, and I kind of feel the same way. It was okay, and I would gladly play it again. The bird dice, like the bird feeder or birdhouse dice tower thing, is ridiculous. Trying to get the dice
good way, or
no, in a bad way. You can't like roll the dice in there. It just is a little bit awkward.
Have smaller hands.
Yeah, gigantor over here.
Yeah.
But it does things well, but I don't know if it does things any better than other games.
See, and that's kind of been my thought of what the game was, and I've heard you guys talk a little bit about it here or there, but that was kind of my impressions as first anyway. It wasn't a theme that truly drew me in, even though the art is gorgeous, and I thought that looks beautiful, the production's great, but yeah, mostly no. I was not interested in it from a thematic standpoint, and there wasn't anything mechanically that I read about or heard about that really was drawing me in. So I never tried it, but I feel like I really need to. In fact, when I was on my trip for the last 2 weeks, I told somebody there that I play board games, and she had never played anything more than like Monopoly, chess, checkers, those types of games, right? And she goes, "Oh, so you play games like that bird game, right?" And I was like, "The bird game? Like, are you talking about Wingspan?" And she goes, "Yeah, that's the one. It was on NPR." And so the fact that Wingspan has done so much for the hobby that it can reach anybody is really cool. And I feel like I should give it some credit and try this game.
Oh, yeah, it's awesome. I mean, I think when it came out, the theme was so unique. It drew a lot of people in. I mean, we give it a hard time that it's about birds, right? But it was cool. It kind of took the industry by storm, and everybody was playing it. So I think you should absolutely give it a shot. I mean, don't take our word for it. You should play, and it could end up being your favorite game. Who knows?
Yeah, and it attracted all the ornithologists to the hobby.
You had to look up the word ornithologist.
I did. Someone who does this may be called a bird watcher, but more often a twitcher or birder.
I watched the Steve Martin, Jack Black birding movie called The Good Year, and that's the most I know about birding. But it's phenomenal.
That was after
it's worth
my
watching.
time, apparently.
Yeah, I've never heard of this show. Yeah. It sounds like something I want to watch.
It is.
So, did you guys see earlier I talked about Princess Bride. Did you guys see the video of Inigo Montoya trying to play Wingspan?
I did not.
Oh, go check it out. It's pretty good. It's pretty funny. You guys didn't see this?
No, I can't tell. I don't know what's happening here.
It sounds like there's a punchline that I'm not getting.
That's why I had the same reaction.
The actor, what's his name? Mandy Patinkin or whatever?
He played Wingspan?
Yeah. Well, tried to. Oh. You got to go find the video.
This is like a real thing you're talking about.
Yes.
I think this is better like a visual content, so I think I have to check it out than audio content.
Yeah, where have you guys been? This is big news in the board gaming community a couple of weeks ago.
I didn't see it.
Living under a rock.
Okay, well.
Working too much.
Go check it out.
All right.
I haven't watched it either.
Okay.
but I heard it was funny.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
Well, that's my number 5, Wingspan, coming in at number 24 on the BGG Top 100.
All right. My number 5. This game is the new hotness. It is shooting up the rankings on Board Game Geek. It is Ark Nova. Have you guys heard of this one?
I have heard of this.
It's the game with animals, right?
Yeah, that's right. Right. It's the game with animals. It seems like anytime I go on Instagram, Facebook, whatever board game groups I'm on, this game is popping up. It is absolutely everywhere. It's currently ranked number 14 on Board Game Geek, which there's games that have meteoric rises in the rankings, but I don't remember one actually going up this quick. Gloomhaven, yes, probably.
And Jaws of the Lion, right?
Yeah, which is weird that both of those are up there. It's
but usually
very similar games, right?
Usually when they rise in the ranks that fast, they tend to stay there for at least a little while.
Yeah, right. So, I mean, it's a good indication that it's probably a game you should check out. And because it's been so popular, it's one that's interested in me. The theme doesn't necessarily excite me. It's about a zoo and managing a zoo. But I play a lot of games where the theme's kind of doesn't really excite me. Hansa Teutonica, for example. I don't even know what that theme is, but I love the game for the mechanics, and I want to explore this one and see what, everybody's all jazzed up about. It looks like it's more on the complicated side. I don't know more. I don't know a whole lot about the mechanics.
Capstone is the publisher, right? And they've been doing amazing games lately.
Absolutely.
And we've played a lot of their games recently as well. And I love a good Capstone game. So almost by pedigree alone, I feel like it's worth checking out.
Yep. So that's my number 5. And hopefully I'm getting a copy soon. And that's Ark Nova.
I mean, Capstone did Imperial's theme, so
right.
I feel like I need to play every one of their games.
And Ark Nova just dropped off my list.
It is. So one thing that I have heard that does excite me about the game, that it has a similar mechanic to Rajas of the Ganges, where you're trying to get your tracks to cross. And I love that about Rajas of the Ganges. So I am interested in playing Ark Nova. I left it off my list kind of in spite of its meteoric rise. I'm not going to buy this game. I saw it in the game store when I was traveling last week. I thought about it. I would happily play it. I look forward to a chance to play it, but gone are the days where I just buy something because it's hot.
Well, you're going to miss out then.
Are you buying it?
I don't know. Tyson, are you buying it?
If I'm getting After the Empire, you're getting Ark Nova.
No, I think I'm going to buy it.
You're going to buy it at Origins, or
I don't know.
There's no real need to.
There's no need to. It's already out and widely available. So I think Ben has mentioned that he's going to buy it. Well, he's really interested.
His uncle had a copy.
So on the day we played Lisboa, they played Ark Nova on that very day beforehand, and they were talking about how great it was, and I like the idea of it thematically, even though maybe you don't. I love the idea of keeping a zoo. I've always wanted to play Dinogenics because it's got that kind of, it's a dinosaur zookeeping kind of game.
Well, that's completely different. It's dinosaurs.
It is, but I still like the zookeeping, so managing animal. It's the same ilk to me.
A dinosaur zoo is infinitely better than a normal zoo.
I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying I like the idea.
Oh, yes. I don't know. Does the zoo
is it going to bring out the ornithologist crowd?
When was the last time you've gone to a zoo?
Well, I don't know if this zoo has birds. Yes. The Ark Nova zoo.
I don't know if
Washington,
they have penguins.
DC
There's a penguin on the cover.
It's free.
Is there a penguin on the cover?
2008.
I believe so. Now you got me.
No, 2012.
Wait, what are you talking about?
I don't know.
The last time he asked last time we went to a zoo.
In 2012?
Yeah, I think that's the last time I went. Washington, D.C., free zoo.
Pre-pandemic, my family loves zoos.
We go to the zoo at least 2 or 3 times a year.
Yeah, the zoo's great. Why don't you visit zoos? What do you got against zoos?
Because I don't like ones that aren't free. And after going to one that was awesome, that was free, I'm not going to go.
I got a zoo season pass, and I think I can bring a guest. So I
could go to the national park
You bring Kate in
and see
we'll
lots of animals.
Yeah, but like polar bears and lions, tigers, bears.
Oh my.
Yeah.
You
Down,
you can go to like Rocky Mountain National Park and see
down
a
in
tiger.
Zion's, you could see the tiger. They have tigers down in Zion's.
What are you talking about? There's
Southern
a tiger.
Utah.
Southern Utah, there's no tigers.
There's Tiger Refuge down there.
Well, yes, a tiger
I'm
refuge.
just
that's not
kidding.
free.
I'm
You have to
making
Mr.
that up.
Tiger King.
Tiger King.
Going off the rails on a crazy train.
All right.
Good.
So, speaking of exciting themes, I'm just going to read a slight paragraph of the description of this game. The game is about players taking settlement tiles from the game board and placing them into their princedom, which is represented by the player board. Every tile has a function that starts when the tile is placed in the princedom. The princedom itself consists of several regions, each of which demands its own type of settlement tile.
Oh my gosh, I want to play this game now.
Dripping Euro dryness, right? This is number 17 overall, the Castles of Burgundy. I bought this game, gosh, it's been about 4 years ago. I still have not played it. It's on my shelf of shame. It was designed by Stefan Feld and published by Ravensburger in 2011. There was a newer version that came out a couple of years ago. Didn't get critically acclaimed for any of its upgrades or production quality.
And aren't they doing a new version?
And that's what I was going to get to. I really want to play this game before that Kickstarter goes, or that GameFound crowdfunding goes live. They're doing a new, really nice version. I think they're teaming with Awaken Realms. Ravensburger bought into GameFound, and I think one of the things that came out of that partnership is Ravensburger and Awaken Realms are teaming up for this awesome new version.
Production is going to be off the
of
charts.
Castles of Burgundy. So I think it just came out today that they're going to kick it off on May 24th. So I need to get this game played in the next week or so that I know whether or not I need to go all in. Little hexagon tiles, different terrain types. I know nothing about this game other than it's a dry Stefan Feld Euro. I bought this on your recommendation, Kevin, back when I used to take your recommendations.
It is, whatever. It is at the level of Monster Crunch, so you're going to love it.
It's got to be better than more. There's got to be more to it than that.
There's more to it than Monster Crunch.
I know people couldn't see Tyler's reaction to that, but it was like he was sheet white, scared.
For the record,
literally shocked.
My take on Monster Crunch is an inside joke within the group.
Right.
I will happily.
You will not happily play Monster Crunch. I do not believe you.
If it had birds, I would.
Oh. Wait a minute. Bird cereals? That just sounds weird. I don't know.
Fruit Loops. It's got a toucan on it.
Toucan Sam.
Yeah.
Hey, you're onto something here.
All right. Anyway.
Yep.
I want to get this played so that I know whether or not I'm going to back it. I'm probably not, but looking at some of the pictures that have come out for this, it looks like they've finally figured out, hey, we actually need to put a decent version of this out.
Yeah, I have the version I think you have. Mm-hmm. I've played it. It is very much a Feld, meaning it's a point salad. You score points for doing everything, which I like those games. It's kind of cool. It's fun when you see yourself moving around the track. The production quality is not great, but this new one could be awesome. So have you played it, Tyson?
I haven't played it. So the only one I've played is Merlin, which is not necessarily his most highly acclaimed game. It is good though, and I liked it, and it made me want to try more Feld games. And Castles of Burgundy is at the top of that list.
Yeah, as I'm thinking about it, one thing that I really enjoy, it's a dice game. So you're rolling dice, and then you use those dice as workers to take actions. And you're limited to what dice rolls you have, right? There's ways to mitigate those dice rolls to get different numbers, but trying to figure out, okay, I had a roll that's suboptimal. It's not quite what I wanted, but figuring out how to make that work is interesting in the game. So I really enjoy that. There's also combos. You build certain tiles and you get bonuses for those tiles, which is kind of cool. I remember really liking it. It's been a while since I played it, but it's one I want to revisit and go back to.
Awesome.
For sure.
Maybe we could play it on Saturday.
I'm all down for that.
So the only Feld that I've played real quick is Bruges or Brugge. I lived there for 5 months, and I was interested in Bonfire. I haven't backed or played that or purchased it, but
same. That was another one I was interested in.
So that was my number 5. Coming in at number 17, Castles of Burgundy.
So my number 4 is ranked number 14 on the top 100.
Wait a minute.
Wait, we talked. That's right. Ark Nova. Yeah, so I'm not going to talk about it. We already talked about it.
Does your version have birds?
Yes. There's a penguin on the cover.
Hey, when's the last time you guys went to a zoo?
So yeah, that's my number 4, Ark Nova.
All right, my number 4 is a game I actually picked up over the holidays this past year. And it is coming in at number 40 on the BGG Top 100. And that is Barrage. The first thing that drew me to Barrage is the art style in the game. It is just gorgeous. I think the box art is some of the best box art that I've seen. I've opened up the game. I've looked at it. All of the art in the game just looks fantastic. I think the production quality is good. There's some history around this one in the Kickstarter. I don't think it was handled very well. So I think there's some negative press on it when it came out, and some of the components in the game didn't really function as expected. But at least in the version I got, it seems like everything looks pretty good. This one, Barrage, it's a resource management strategic game in which players compete to build dams and try to power those dams. From what I've read about the game, it looks like it's fairly cutthroat. Right up your alley, Tyson. I think you might enjoy this one. You're competing for water that's coming down. I think you can divert water in other places that people may need to go to where you need it to go, type of thing. Another thing that intrigues me about this game is there's a resource wheel. And from what I can see, it looks like resources are really tight. We play a lot of games where resources are really tight, and it makes it interesting to try to manage those resources as well as you can. You put these resources on a wheel, and the wheel goes around, and when it comes all the way around, you get to use those resources again. So it seems interesting to me to try and figure out how that will work. I obviously haven't played it before. I don't know how it works in practice, but it's very intriguing, that mechanic. I'm sure it looks like a pretty big game. I just want to dig in and figure it out and see how it plays.
I knew nothing about this game other than some very, very basic stuff. And that cover just drew me in. Like, it's one that by the cover alone, I wanted to play this one. So I am very interested when you play this to play this one.
Yeah, I actually picked up the expansion too.
I thought you did.
Yeah. So I haven't opened the expansion yet because if I hate the game, then I can just get rid of the expansion. It's still on shrink, but
it looks pretty. I like the style of it.
I mean, there's no birds on the cover, but
it's true.
Well, I mean, they could be frolicking in the water.
I am not an ornithologist. So.
Yeah, you didn't look it up this time, did you?
Ornithologist.
You really, it just flows.
Ornithologist.
It flows off the tongue. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Barrage, that is my number 4, coming in at number 40 on the BGG Top 100.
My number 4 is the second highest ranked IP game on the top 100 after Star Wars Rebellion, and it is coming in at number 10, War of the Ring. This is published by Ares Games, and the second edition, I believe, came out in 2011. The game was designed by Roberto Di Meglio, Marco Maggi, and Francisco Nepatello. It looks amazing. The art is by famed Middle-earth illustrator John Howe, which, I mean, it's awesome. I've got this game. It was on my top 5 Shelf of Shame games. It came in at number 3 from our episode 4. It is still on my Shelf of Shame, unfortunately. I hope to get this played. This is my plan, to play this game before the new Amazon Lord of the Rings Middle-earth show comes out, right? I really want to get this played. I hope that the experience, I mean, this is the Lord of the Rings game that you have to play, right? It's an epic game. I'm hoping that it gives me the same experience that Star Wars Rebellion did for me for Star Wars. I hope it's that same kind of epic experience. 2-player, I think you can play in teams. Personally, I never really want to play that way in games. 2 versus 2, that's just not my thing. Like Cerebria, Star Wars Rebellion, War of the Ring, why? That's just not for me. I'm excited to try to get Frodo with the ring to Mordor, or if I'm the Dark Lord, Mr. Sauron, right, destroy the free peoples of Middle Earth. I'm just going to crush them and destroy them, and it's going to be awesome.
It's kind of got birds in it, right?
Yeah,
the ring wraiths.
Yes.
Well, those are. I mean, what they fly on?
I mean,
the Nazgul.
Oh, the Nazgul.
I would, let's step in.
The Nazgul, they got wings.
Not a bird.
Definitely not a bird.
They're birdish.
I'd put them in the dragon wyvern family.
Correct. I confirm.
Fair enough.
But
I'm no ornithologist.
But after the battles at Pelennor Fields, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of crows picking the bodies clean.
Birds.
Are you a Silmarillion reader?
No, I've started that multiple times, and I felt like I was reading Genesis, or some other early Old Testament book. So
yeah, I had the same experience that it's dry, but I love Lord of the Rings, and this is a game, just like you said, that is like the quintessential Lord of the Rings fan game. If you want to play a game that is Lord of the Rings, this is the one you have to play. And it's exactly that.
And it's a heavy game. So if you can swallow the heaviness of it, then this is the game you have to play.
I am very interested in it as well.
That's my number 4, War of the Ring.
So I think I said I'm interested in almost every game that has been said so far, which goes to show that these are top 100 games, right? They're there for a reason. But I'm going to talk about now a game that is lower on the top 100 list.
That you're not as interested in?
That I am very interested in. In fact, it's ranked number 98, and it's Tigris and Euphrates. Tigris and Euphrates is a Reiner Knizia game, and it is like one of his older ones. 1997 is when it was published. And this is a game that... for those who are Reiner Knizia fans, this may be considered his masterpiece, right? Like the game that if you like Reiner Knizia, this is the one that you should play. Well, I haven't played it. I like Reiner Knizia. In most of the things I've seen him design, he's had a few little duds here or there that I don't care for. But when you've designed 700 plus games, I imagine the ratio of good versus bad doesn't really matter when you have 2 or 3 that aren't great. But the one that I have played is Yellow and Yangtze. Yellow and Yangtze is a re-implementation of Tigris and Euphrates. Basically, Tigris and Euphrates was really hard to find. So Reiner Knizia designed a newer version of it, but it's a different experience in some ways. And I really did, though, enjoy Yellow and Yangtze, and I thought it was a lot of fun. But because Tigris and Euphrates is considered the masterpiece, I feel like I need to play that one more than I've needed to play Yellow and Yangtze. Now, Yellow and Yangtze, I think, is actually harder to find now, too, because I think there was some kerfuffle between the publisher and Reiner Knizia, and they were misrepresenting something. And so that one actually got pulled and is no longer being published. So
you gotta watch out for those kerfuffles.
Nobody likes a kerfuffle.
That sounds terrible.
So that is my number 3, Tigris and Euphrates. It's number 98 on the BGG Top 100.
Have you played that one, Kevin?
I have not played that one. I've played Babylonia is a game that I own. That's probably the most... I was going to say it's the most recent Knizia, but I think Llama I may have purchased after Babylonia. I don't know. He's got so many games, and I have a bunch of his games. Raw is one. It could be my favorite Knizia game.
I wasn't kidding. I think he has over 700 games
Yeah,
designed.
It's just ridiculous.
I went for a while. He was my favorite designer for a while because of Raw. Because that game is it's one of the best auction games out there.
Did you back the new one?
No, I haven't. I have the game already, so I didn't fill
Do you?
Ugh. I usually have it in my basement on my shelves, but somebody borrowed it.
I'll play it soon.
Are you going to play it?
Yeah, I backed the new one, but
you did?
I do want to play your version.
Yeah. It's Knizia's great. Not a whole lot of theme in his games, but the mechanisms are fantastic.
I mean, I will contest that. I just played Winner's Circle, which is like the Kentucky Derby. That game was a great auction game, and it was very thematic, I felt. But
cool.
I agree. Most of his games are not the most thematic.
That's not what he's known for. He's known for, the mechanisms, and he does a great job.
But yeah, so again, that was my number 3, Tigris and Euphrates, number 98 on the BGG Top 100.
My number 3 is number 29 on the Top 100, and it is Everdell. So Everdell, this is another game that I've seen everywhere, right? The most, what people focus on the most, I think, is that big tree on the board.
Yeah.
Which I've heard good and bad things about the tree. The tree looks awesome, and it's probably functional, but if you're on the other side of the tree, I can imagine you can't see the board at all, right? It probably suffers from the same thing that, the Praga pieces do that we've talked about before. This game has woodland creatures, which who doesn't like woodland creatures? I'm sure there's a bunch of...
I see a picture of a bird.
Yep, birds. It's got birds and other woodland creatures. I think the theme is kind of fun. From what I can see, it looks like an interesting theme and something that I would be drawn to. Looking at the mechanisms on Board Game Geek, it's got end-game bonuses, hand management, open drafting, set collection, variable setup, worker placement. These are all things that I enjoy in games. So I think this is right up my alley. I think it's something that I would enjoy playing, and I'm interested in finding more about it.
So this came out the same time, basically, or the same year at least, as Root. And I think at the time I kind of decided I only have room for one woodland creature game from this year, and I went with Root. So
I don't think you were alone on that, because I feel like I heard that comparison when it came out as well. But they're completely different games, obviously. Right. But it is interesting that they came out with such similar kind of thematic ties that there was that comparison made.
Yeah, I mean it's like when Bug's Life came out and then Ants came out.
Yeah,
like in that same summer or whatever, right? I would happily play this. Does Ben have this one?
I'm pretty sure Ben's played it. I don't know if he has it, but
I don't know that he has it. Yeah,
I don't know that anybody in our group has it.
I may have to bite the bullet and get this one. I don't know.
I support this.
You support that?
Any games that you pay more for is great, in my opinion.
You support other people buying games.
I do.
So that sounds good to me. So I'm sure this one will end up on my shelf eventually. What's Root rated? It's pretty high up there too, right?
It's number 26, so it comes in a few higher.
A few spots higher.
Everdell is 29.
Nice.
And I'm actually now going to talk about my number 3 game, which comes in just in between Root and Everdell. At number 27, Clank Legacy Acquisitions Incorporated. Now, I have not actually played base Clank, but I have played Clank in Space, and I had a blast playing that game. It's been a while, but I heard nothing but high praise about Clank Legacy and how it, in some people's minds in the community, is one of the best, if not the best, legacy game out there. So I have this. I bought this last year, I think. I have it in my closet, waiting to be played. I'm excited to play this one. Clank and Clank Legacy is produced by Direwolf, and I think this is a game that it does not take itself too seriously with some of the cards and the flavor text and the art. Like there are some funny things in there, right?
It's hilarious. I mean, the Clank and Space game has a lot of like sci-fi references.
Oh yeah,
that are
totally
amazing. Clank base game has a lot of like quippy, fun references to fantasy stuff. This is exactly that. It doesn't take itself too seriously. It's fun and interactive.
Right. And this is one of those games that has one of our favorite mechanics, deck building, which I think everybody at this table loves. We are definitely all in on some deck building games. And also, I believe with this legacy game, once you complete it, you have this unique version of Clank that you can now play through as your
indefinitely.
Right.
That's awesome.
It's not like Pandemic Legacy where you finish it. And I mean, I guess technically you could probably still go back and play, but it's not touted that way that, hey, go play your unique version of Pandemic Legacy. Right. So yeah. And Direwolf, I mean, we all know how much I love Dune Imperium. So
you like that game?
Yeah. A little bit. So yeah, no, Clank Legacy. I think this might be when everybody's done traveling and done with their busy summers, maybe we get into this. And
I didn't realize you owned this game, and that excites me.
Why is it hidden in your closet?
Because I don't have any. My shelves go up to my ceiling, and it doesn't fit in the little cubes.
That should be proudly displayed. No.
Yeah, it should, but where? Where do I put it?
I don't know.
So my number 2 falls at 46 on BGG's top 100. It's Mansions of Madness. I know in the past I've been harped on for being a hater of cooperative games, and this is definitely a cooperative style game, right? But this is one that like really intrigues me. I love the idea of this kind of gothic noir ambience that really comes from the Arkham mythos. And I've only played a few games that have the Arkham theme behind it. And so from what I have played, I've enjoyed, and I'd like to see more. I've listened and read a few of the Lovecraft stories and enjoyed that as well. But what I really want or like about Mansions of Madness is it feels to me like a gamer's version of Betrayal at House on the Hill. And Betrayal at House on the Hill was one of the first games that I started playing as a getting into the board game hobby. And I loved it, but I remember getting to a point playing it that I was like, okay, I want something more out of this game. And when I heard that Mansions of Madness was getting a new release and was upgrading all of these components and updating some of the mechanics and things like that, and started reading about what that was, I got really excited about it. At the time, it was a little bit out of my budget price range of games that I would usually buy. So I didn't end up getting it, and then it's just I've never had the opportunity to really pick it up since then. So it's one that I've had my eye on for years, but never had the opportunity to actually play. Have either of you played this one?
I have not played it. It's one that I'm super interested in playing. I've played a few Cthulhu Mythos games. Cthulhu Death May Die is by far my favorite that I've played. That game is just awesome. I love the theme. I have the Arkham Horror card game, and I've put quite a bit of money into that recently. I've only played it once, but my one play of it was just amazing. The thematic nature of that game was awesome. Just the whole mythos around it just is intriguing to me. So Mansions of Madness is up there on one of the games I'd really like to play.
Well,
for sure.
It's still talked about all the time.
Yeah.
This game is always mentioned.
Yeah, and you talked about, Tyler, how like War of the Rings is like the quintessential Lord of the Rings game. I feel like Mansions of Madness is almost that, if not that, for the Arkham mythos. I mean, you could argue that Arkham Horror, the board game, is that, but like I tried that one, wasn't that interested in it. This is really it. I love a cooperative game that is narrative and adventure driven in nature. And that's really what this is. It's got that narrative storyline to tell you what you're doing, what you're going through. Kevin, you mentioned Arkham Horror, the card game. That's exactly how I feel about that one. It's narrative driven, and it tells you this story while delivering it in like it's dripping in thematic ties and art and text and things like that. And that's how I feel a Mansion of Madness is as well. With the app driven nature of it, I think that it really has that potential to be a really great experience. So it's one I want to try. That's my number 2, Mansions of Madness, falling in at number 46 on the BGG Top 100.
So I'm going to butt in and give my number 2 right now.
Whoa. Okay.
If you'll allow that.
Oh, I will allow it.
I don't want to start a kerfuffle.
No kerfuffling here.
So my number 2 is actually Lord of the Rings, which you just brought up again, and Journeys of Middle-earth, which is number 94 on the top 100. And from what I've heard, this is kind of a derivative of, or at least as compared to Mansions of Madness, maybe a little bit lighter version of it, I've also heard. I don't know if that's true or not. But it's an expandable scenario campaign game driven by app integration where you're going on an adventure, Mr. Frodo.
I'm going on an adventure.
Exactly.
Thank you.
If I take one step further, which have you guys seen the YouTube?
Oh my gosh.
We tried this before.
It didn't work before.
It shows, it's the whole movie, the whole clip is him saying that and then taking the next step in whatever scene he's in through the whole movie. And then it shows it again and then the next step and then it says it again in the next step. Check that out.
There's another one we have to look up after.
I actually haven't watched that one either.
Oh my gosh. Are you kidding?
How do you know?
How do you know about these then?
I don't know. Like Mansions of Madness, this is a cooperative game. You're working together, a bunch of different scenarios. I think initially there was some negative press about it. It's a fantasy flight game. I think some of the criticism was that if you did some of the side tasks, there was no way of completing the main challenge or mission of whatever current mission you were playing. I think that was one of the criticisms. I think they've reworked the app, and Kevin has this. This is another game that I want to play before the Lord of the Rings show comes out on Amazon Prime.
Yeah, we'll have to get it played. I have played it solo, I believe, one time, and I haven't gone back to it since I first got it. I was a little bit underwhelmed my first play for whatever reason, but I think it has potential. One of the criticisms too was that you can't maybe side quest it, or you can't switch people in and out or something like that. I think that may have been what one of them was. So you have to have the same group or else it doesn't work. I don't know.
So we've talked about possibly right before the Amazon Prime show comes out doing a Lord of the Rings feature episode where we're discussing War of the Ring, Journeys in Middle-earth, Lord of the Rings Risk, Lord of the Rings Trivial Pursuit, Lord of the Rings Trivial Pursuit DVD.
I mean, we got a lot of content to draw from.
We do.
Yeah, I'd like to get back to Journeys in Middle-earth.
We need to do it
and play it. I remember the card play and the was fun. There's certain icons like success icons on the cards when you do skill checks. You can kind of manipulate your deck to get those to come up when you need them to come up. Now, that was interesting. The fact that the app controls everything is really pretty cool, and it's really well done. The app's really well done. And it works well. Like it tracks, hit points in the battles. It tracks when the enemy attacks you back. And it really does a lot of the upkeep for you, which is what an app should do. And it does it great.
There are a couple expansions for this already. I think maybe the second one's about to come out or it just came out. They're not cheap.
It's Fantasy Flight. It's never cheap.
There's but I feel like it's taken it to the next level. I mean, these are $70, $80 expansions, right?
So you mentioned that we don't talk about prices in games earlier in the podcast.
We haven't very often.
But this is another one that the base game is $100 if you buy it full retail. And you can find it places for a little bit cheaper. And what you get in the box is not in my opinion, $100 worth of content. It just really isn't. When you look at other games that are similar, you're getting a lot more minis, you're getting a lot more terrain, you're getting, other things that you feel like you should get in a $100 game. Where I think it's different, though, is you're paying for the app as well, and you're paying for the development of the app, which that kind of softened the blow for me a little bit because it is really well done, and it's part of the game. It's an integral part of the game. So it's true. It's expensive, but it's a good one. It's fun.
So that's my number 2, Lord of the Rings: Journeys in Middle-earth.
So my number 2 is it has been referenced already in the show. It comes in at number 71, and that game is Clank. And you guys have both played it. Tyler, you mentioned you played Clank in Space, and Tyson, you have played Vanilla Clank, right?
I have.
We've already mentioned it. We're all big fans of deck builders. It's one of my favorite mechanisms. This is one that I'm surprised I haven't played yet because there's been a lot of good buzz about it. Yeah. The theme looks awesome. I think you're going down into a dragon's lair, right? Isn't that what the theme is? You're trying to come out with as much as many goodies as you can while trying not to make noise in the process to attract the dragon, right? I think that's the main theme of the game. Cool. That's a great theme. That sounds interesting to me. So it's something I want to explore a little bit more and figure out and maybe move on to Clank, the legacy version of it after playing the original. So,
well, that's a great segue into my number 1, which is Clank Legacy, which has already been talked about as well. But I want to continue touching on what you were just saying, though, Kevin. Clank it's one of my favorite deck builders, if not my favorite deck builder potentially.
That's high praise.
We've talked about already the Clank in Space, right? I've played Clank in Space. I really like that. I've played Clank Vanilla. I really like that. I also have the Clank Underwater expansion board, which is awesome. The game is infinitely expandable, I think, because Tyler, you already mentioned it. It's quippy. It's fun. You can pull on different genres, do different things, and go into it. And you just add a new board or new components and a few new cards, and you've got a whole new scenario. One of the things that I thought was really great about Clank, the base game when it came out, was that this was the first time really that we'd seen a deck builder with a board component. Right. Up until that point, historically, we'd been seeing Dominion, Ascension, deck builders that Thunderstone, exactly. Mm-hmm. Deck builders that had a lot of the focus was primarily on the decks in your hands, which makes sense for a deck builder, right? But this added the component where your focus is on the deck in your hand and how that allows you to work on the board, which was a new novel concept for me, at least at that time. And so I really liked this. There is so much that's great about that game. And we haven't even touched on the fact that the game is called Clank because what you're doing is you're trying to surreptitiously or covertly go through a dungeon.
I gotta look these up.
Those are good words.
You're going through a dungeon, trying to make as little noise as possible so you don't disturb either in space I believe it's the Overlord type of guy. I can't remember his name, but it is that type of a big boss guy, right? And then the dragon in the base game. You're trying not to disturb them. You're just being a sneaky thief. But as you are grabbing more stuff in the dungeons, you're adding noise. And so you're creating clank, which you throw cubes in a bag. And if your cubes get drawn out, you could be... the sights could be set on you that the dragon's going to come after you. So I think it's great. I would love to play the Legacy game. I'm so glad that I've just found out that Tyler has a copy because now maybe I have a chance of actually playing it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, that's my number 1, Clank Legacy, falling in at number 27 on the BGG Top 100.
All right, so my number one barely squeaks in to the top 100.
You were worried it was going to fall out.
You know, we had got this list put together a few weeks ago, and I thought it might fall out of the top 100, and I'd have to get a new number one. But luckily, it stayed strong. It comes in at number 99 in the BGG top 100, and that is Rising Sun. I've enjoyed, I think, every Eric Lang game that I have played. Blood Rage is great. We have talked a lot about Ankh. Ankh is one of my all-time favorites. I got really heavy into Dice Masters for a while, and I've played that, over 100 times. That game is fantastic. There's really no reason why I wouldn't enjoy this game. Everything that I've heard about it, I'm intrigued by, you make and you break alliances in the game. That's just it's intriguing to me, right?
Sounds like Tyson wants to play with you.
Right.
I have played this one.
You've played this one.
I have. And I like it.
And you like it? That's awesome. So that sounds super interesting to me, that aspect. And I think it got a little bit of, criticism for that, or people may not have been really big on that piece of it initially, which is fine for me, because when I think about Ankh, and if I only read the reviews about Ankh, I may have never played that game because there's so many people that were down on the merge mechanic. In practice, actually playing that's one of my favorite parts of that game, right? Is the merge mechanic. So I don't want to write off this one because maybe I heard a few bad things about, the alliance piece, because that could end up being my favorite part of the game,
So I've only played it one time. And the one time I did play it, we played it with an odd number of people. I think we played it with 5 players. And I think the weird thing at an odd number count is that if you're making alliances, that means that inherently one person is not going to be in an alliance, right? So I think there was a lot of issue with that because you can feel left out. You don't get because there are follow actions in this as well. If your ally does an action that you get a lesser version of that action. So if you don't have somebody you're allied with, it can feel kind of bad. But I think you're exactly right, Kevin. It's part of similar to Ankh, it's a mechanic that you have to understand how it works. So you're trying to play the game in a way that that people want to be in an alliance with you. So you're trying to be favorable and not destroy the potential for alliances, but you're trying not to go too far ahead so that nobody wants to be in alliance with you. You're trying to stay with the pack a little bit. And I think that's really cool and interesting. It's just, you've got to understand how that mechanic works. Now, the other thing about this that I think is really great about the game is that it's not all about the conflict. And I think Eric Lang does that really well in all of these games, is that the emphasis may not be about winning the battle, right? You're in this one though, you're, instead of being like highly conflicting parties, you're the financiers. You're basically financing the war. And so it's about the money side of it. And it makes the game really interesting. I'm not sure, I'd have to play this one more to know where it falls in ranking between Blood Rage, Ankh, and Rising Sun, but it holds its own, I think, and it's one that, like, if you have it and the other two, it holds its own space on the shelf.
Is it similar to Ankh in any way, or does it completely stand on its own as a different game? Right.
So it's similar to Blood Rage and Ankh in that it's an area control game where you can have multiple units in a area and you're trying to control that area. And there's different reasons why you would control an area, similar to how Ankh would be, I want this area for a specific reason, etc. So you can tell that there is a almost a parental lineage going on here between Blood Rage, Rising Sun, and Ankh. There is overlap. They're all area control games, but they have their own takes on it. Blood Rage is the all out, like, that's about the Blood Rage, right? That's about the Viking war.
It's all about the battles.
It's all about the battles.
Yep.
Rising Sun is more about the financing of the battles and seeing if you can come out on top, because you may finance a battle and want a specific outcome or another one. It's like war profiteering in some ways. And then Ankh is more about trying to control those areas and make sure that you're in power so that you can do specific things with that area. You may want to win it to build a building. You may not want to win it. Like, there are different reasons to control the area. And that's true for every single one of these.
Yeah, it looks...
That's good.
Yeah. It looks interesting to me. The game looks beautiful. I mean, I love the art style.
Does anybody actually own this in our group, though?
No, I've tried to find copies of it, and it's not an easy game to find copies of. I've multiple times sought it out. I
obviously didn't back it. I was back in Salt Lake at a game shop that I frequent every time we go back there, and they had the all-in Kickstarter version with the Dynamo Pledge and everything. And I thought I maybe should pick it up then, and I didn't. I'm kicking myself. I should have done it.
I had a friend at the time. He backed it, so I thought, I don't need to back it because he had a copy of it. Well, then he moved away, and he had the all-in pledge as well, and I was like, I'm really kicking myself.
That is my number 1, Rising Sun, coming in at 99.
Oh, that was yours. I thought it was his. I was giving him thumbs up.
I was like, what's the thumbs up for you?
Wait a minute. That's mine. I didn't have as much to say about it because I haven't played it yet.
Right,
so Tyson.
Number 99. Good job.
Talked about my game.
Which is great.
So coming in at number 99 in the BGG Top 100 is Rising Sun.
So my number 1 is, it's not
Tumor.
It's not a tumor. Who's distracting who now?
For the first time.
My number 1 is not number 89, because number 89 is the 3rd edition of this game. My number 1 ranks in at number 6, at least for a couple more days before Ark Nova passes it up. It is Twilight Imperium 4th edition, which came out in 2017. And it's funny because I remember seeing, I think the first Twilight Imperium I ever saw was probably the 2nd edition back in like 2000. I remember that very distinct cover. I never played it, never bought it, but the distinct cover art I still remember. And then, coming kind of back into the hobby years later, like, wow, this game's still around and now they're on the 4th edition. Like, that's pretty impressive. This game is Fantasy Flight's epic, sprawling 4X game. Talked a lot about Dead Reckoning. It qualifies as a 4X game. I think from what I know, Twilight Imperium is up there as the quintessential 4X game that you have to play if you have 8 to 12 hours to spare. I've opened this up. It's a big box. I bought this the same time on the same sale from Night Owl Games, our local game store here in Denver. The same time I bought Clank Legacy. So both of those are sitting in my closet waiting to be played. I want to get this played. This thing looks amazing. I don't know if I'll ever have a day to learn it and then a day to play it, but I look forward to playing it at some point. And I've heard, I think there are people who love this game, and then there are people who have had a bad experience with it and consider it trash. But I'm excited about it. It's number 6, Twilight Imperium.
I've played it.
You have played it?
I have played it.
Where did you play it, and which edition?
I played 4th edition, and I played it with the designer of Tasty Humans, Ryan Languish. He invited me to his house one day and said, hey, we're going to play this. We played it with 6 players, I think, right? So we played it with 6 players. He specifically sought out a group of people who were interested in playing it and gave us ahead of time some information about what to do. So this was like,
Did you know which faction you were playing ahead of time?
I knew what faction I was playing ahead of time, and I was set up to do that and learn a little bit about it so that I could be prepared to play the game. It is an endeavor. Like,
right. Which is why one of the reasons why it has not gotten to the table yet.
8 hours is not a lie. Like, we played, I believe that when we played 8 hours on it, which was my first play, but everybody else at the table, I believe, had already played it at least once.
And this is a lifestyle game, right?
It absolutely is.
I need to be dedicated to it.
I liked it. It was enjoyable. It was fun. There was a lot to really like about the game. But honestly, looking back, it was 8 hours, and I don't have a clear recollection of exactly how to play the game or a clear understanding.
Do you remember what happened in the game? Was there exciting moments that you go back to and are like, oh, that was cool?
I remember
for things like you could nuke a planet, and nuke someone's whole space fleet, and
I vaguely
stuff like
remember
that.
the interaction between a couple of players, people who I didn't know at all, and that they had done something that was like backstab me and betray to me that I hadn't anticipated. But other than that, I don't really remember a whole lot about this game. I played it right around the time the 4th edition came out, probably, which I can't, what is that, like
2017?
17? Yeah, okay, so it was probably 2018 that I played it. And again, I enjoyed it, but for the amount of time that I invested into playing it and learning it, and the amount of time that unless it's a lifestyle experience, like I'm playing it regularly and I know my strategies, it's like on Mars in some ways to me, that like I loved that game and I liked the experience, but I don't know how often I'll be able to get it back to the table because I have to refresh myself on the game.
So it sounds like a good con game. Right?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Maybe we try and play this at Origins. I'll play this while you're playing Ascendancy.
Oh, yes, exactly.
So I am also excited about maybe, I play this and we play it and we decide never to play it again. Well, guess what? There's a roll and write coming out from Fantasy Flight Games. That is Twilight Inscription, which supposedly is to roll and writes what Twilight Imperium is to board gaming.
I don't know who was asking for this, right? I mean,
if it reduces the amount of playtime, if I'm not playing a roll and write for 8 hours and it gives me the Twilight Imperium experience.
In a roll and write, though? I've never played Twilight Imperium.
So the idea is to seek the same game sensation, but with shorter games and using mechanics of this genre that make the game lighter.
Interesting.
It is.
So you're still, I think you still play.
There's limited information available on it.
Right, there is. I think you might play as your own faction still during the roll and write game.
Interesting, because roll and writes are targeted more towards people who like lighter style games, right? Like, I don't know if people, Twilight Imperium fans, were saying, hey, what'd be cool? A roll and write version of this game,
But they might be.
Yeah.
No. And I'm always for new games, regardless of what it is, because it's going to target some audience that's going to enjoy them, right? But it just seems... Right. It seems like a weird thing.
You play a roll and write for a quicker experience, right?
Yeah.
Well, and I agree. It's to me, like we talked about in last episode, the crew, right? And how trick-taking plus cooperative was a weird combination that I hadn't ever thought was possible or somebody was asking for. That's how I feel about Twilight Imperium becoming a roll and write. Like it was something that I never would have expected, and maybe, though, who knows? Maybe it will be really awesome. And I'd be willing to try this one, though it does make me wonder what the price point on this one
That's
would
what
be,
I was just going to say. I wonder if this is the first roll and write to hit $80 or something.
80, yeah, exactly.
$100.
Yeah, right? I'm interested to see what the price point is, right, at retail. But
it's interesting what you said, though. Designers need to take chances on new things to discover new things. When we've talked about how we like deck builders, when Dominion came out, if somebody said, hey, we're going to make a game about
you drawing
the
cards.
you know in Magic the Gathering, when you build a deck and then you play that deck, we're just going to make a game about building the deck. Huh? I'm sure people when that was pitched, they'd be like, that's never going to fly, Right. So, but it turned out to be one of the biggest mechanics in games to date. So, I'm all for taking chances and broadening horizons.
Absolutely. I agree. So I'll be interested to see it. And like I said, I like Twilight Imperium, but if I can get that in a shorter experience, like a shorter playtime experience, but get a lot of the same type of feels, that'd be great.
I mean, assuming it's a reasonably priced game, I am buying this as well.
Then I'm playing it.
I'll play it too. Yeah, for sure.
Or unless you were going to get it.
No, I'll let you do it. You want to complete your Twilight Imperium collection.
I do, but then I'd have to buy a Twilight Imperium expansion or two, and those are not cheap either.
No. I support that.
So that was my number one, Twilight Imperium. Someday we'll get that played. I don't know when that's going to happen, but I am excited for that experience. And I think it could be epic.
Agreed.
So that wraps up our top 5 games that are in the Board Game Geek Top 100 that we want to play. All right, so now let's talk about the things that we're excited about. Tyler, what do you got?
Birds. So there was some actually bleed over crossover here. One of the things that I had written down was Twilight Inscription, which we just discussed. The epic roll and write 4X, Twilight Inscription, Twilight Imperium. Definitely excited about this. I don't know when it's coming out. I'm excited to play Twilight Inscription and to find out more information about this game.
Yeah, no, me too. It's one that I would like to. And as far as upcoming games coming out, the thing that I'm excited about is that Pingyao, First Chinese Banks, from Jing Studio, just made landfall in the United States. Now, for those who don't know, this is a game that I was responsible for kickstarting. So this is why I'm excited about it. I no longer work for Jing Studio or with Jing Studio, but it was a game that I ran the Kickstarter campaign for, and it's finally going to start delivering. I'm excited about it, not just because of that, but this is a game that I've really enjoyed, and I'm excited for Kevin, Tyler, you guys to get a chance to finally play this game, because I know I've talked about this with you guys a number of times, but this is a game where you are taking on the role of being the first Chinese bankers, establishing how banking works. So you're opening up branches across all of China and managing money. It's a game about loans and making sure you're loaning money and borrowing money the right way. So I'm excited about it for all those reasons, but one of the big reasons is because it's finally made landfall and I finally get to see all of this hard work come to fruition.
Awesome. Look forward to playing.
What are you excited about, Kevin?
Tyler, Ben, and I are going to go to Origins, which is awesome. It's the first time that I think any of us have gone. So like we've mentioned before, if we look lost and you see a longest turn shirt, just point us in the right direction, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I was able to connect with some people on Board Game Geek, and somebody there is organizing a game of Star Trek Ascendancy. And this is a game that's been on my shelf of shame. It's my number one game on my shelf of shame. And it's going to be a 6-player game, which sounds amazing. It could be a big mistake. I don't know, right?
I hope they're cool.
Yeah, because right. I hope they're not jerks or something, because that's a long time sitting around a table with
complete strangers.
Complete strangers. But that's one thing I'm excited about Origins is meeting new people, right? And hopefully meeting cool people. And most gamers are really cool. So I'm going to try and get a game in before I go, just so figure it out and it's not just the first time playing, I want in on that for sure, because I just started watching Star Trek Strange New Worlds. Yeah, is that?
And I'm liking it. And
I haven't watched that yet.
It's making me want to play Star Trek Ascendancy.
Nice. So in the next few weeks, let's get a game in. But I'm excited. Hopefully, it's just an awesome, epic game. I have enough to play with 4. I only have 1 expansion. I think out of the box it's 3. But 6-player game sounds pretty epic. So I'm excited about Origins and playing Star Trek Ascendancy.
Awesome.
All right, so that wraps up this episode. Thanks for tuning in and listening to another episode of the Longest Turn Board Gaming Podcast. If you liked what you hear and you want some more, be sure to check us out. We post pictures on Instagram of games we're playing, even those that we aren't necessarily talking about here. Be sure to check out our guild on Board Game Geek, Guild 3947. And if you want to game with us, come check our Board Game Arena group out. And we'd love to play a game with you. Other than that, thanks for listening.
Goodbye. Have a good night.
Adios.
I don't need to say it again. That's really long.
I was like, it's a long time. Let's do it again.
Top 5 games that look kind of cool that we really want to play, but we haven't played yet.
Yeah. But we'll only play if we can get a quorum together. Sounds like an argument in Idaho.
And,
I'm super confused again. All right. What is this, the third time?
It's like people arguing over water rights in backcountry Idaho.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that could be kind of weird. I don't know. It's a resource.
Sorry.
I don't even know where to go from there. Do I start talking about potatoes? I mean, I don't even know.
Tigers.
Tigers? Yeah, tigers up in Idaho. Tyson there for a minute.
I know. It's like, that's like almost worse than I've ever had from some of that, I think.
It sounds like Idaho. Like, I don't know what the...
I was like, as soon as it was happening in my head,
I'm like thinking, what the...
I was thinking,
You know what?
All I could think was
Dude, I had one of those long days where now I'm just like goofy.
I think you may have had either a stroke or a senior moment.
You're older than me. There might be a gas leak down here.
What?
You know what it was? That spider might have bit me when I crushed it.
that seems
Are you a superhero now?
that seems more appropriate.
Yeah, my
because
superpower is derailing topics of conversation.
Yeah.
I'm not saying
Birds, Idaho.
Water rights. Tigers in Zion.
What was that about? There's tigers? And I'm like, no.
I was like, I have no idea how to go anywhere with this now.
You've been there. You know there's no tigers.
All right. So my number 2 is going to be the number 46 on the top BGG. Oh, man.
What is going on, Tyson?
Yeah, it would be.
What did you do? I
made a goofy face out.
You just made a killer bunny face at me.
Yeah.
All right. So my number 2 is a game that ranks 46 on the top 100. Oh, my gosh.
What are you doing? That was you.
I was looking down. I was trying to avoid everybody.
All right. Go.
I got to the exact same spot that I got last time.
So I'm the only one left then.
Thanks for paying attention.
That's how that math works out.
Tyler, wake up. It's your turn.
Right. It's not.
It's like it's in Idaho. Isn't that what you said? No. Oh, it's going to go in the outtakes. Oh, boy.
Birds. Which would get the ornithologist really excited.
Ornithologist.
What is it?
You just made up a new word.
They sound jolly people, though.
Or ornithologist.
And then in
The guy protecting the glue and the Lego, right?
yeah.
It's the same guy, right?
Craggle guy?
Yeah. That's what I think of every time I see his Lord Business is Lord Erraticus.
Lord
from
Erraticus, that's
Clank in
right.
Space. They are virtually the same.
Same person.
Yeah.
Cool. Identity theft is a crime, Jim. Michael!